ठीक है, मैं समझ के चलता हूँ कि यार ये नहीं होना चाहिए, ये नहीं होना चाहिए। बट इफ द फिगर्स वर 3,
Hmm.
would the Muslims have really applauded Vipul Shah to make this film? Cinema is far, far and far
Far
away
away.
from politics.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Clarity Amidst Clutter. We are back with another engaging and intriguing conversation. And well, today's topic is something that has been in the discussion for quite some time now. We're talking about Kerala Story. And while Kerala Story has been the crux of several controversies for quite some time now, for the last few weeks, and in fact, if I correctly remember, it had begun with its teaser releasing back in November last year. But today's episode isn't just about looking at it from a controversial lens of politics, of legal matters, but we're going to talk about the uh, artistic point of view, wherein we're going to speak to somebody who's going to give his point of view from the fraternity itself. And I have with me a special guest for this conversation with me, Director Ravi Rai. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Very well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Right. I mean, this is a conversation that has been ongoing right now. And well, controversies regarding movies isn't something which is very new. And it happens with commercial films, it happens with feature films. And definitely, like, I'm sure one would have expected that controversies might have erupted with a movie which deals with such a sensitive subject. But the unfortunate part of this particular situation is that we have swayed into the political side of it, into the legal side of it, in lengths and depths. But what we have sort of put on the back seat is how do we look at this film from a director's perspective, in the sense that there have been critics on this movie. Film critics have said that there have been places in this movie that there have been several exaggerations with the imageries, with the portrayals, which were probably not needed. I mean, you being a director, you being a part of the fraternity, what would you have to say when we are talking about this particular stance, this particular nuance of the movie? Do you think they went a bit overboard in with their portrayals, or I mean, yes, a director has his particular freedom or independence to go about a certain way with a particular story.
You see, Sriya, very honestly, I mean, we just finished with the Kashmir files. Now we
Right.
are on to the Kerala story. I
Hmm.
mean, the entire film industry is not only about these two films. There have
Absolutely.
been other films also. I mean,
Hmm.
3 साल में या 5 साल में या 15 साल में एक कश्मीर फाइल्स आती है और ये आती है. Anyway, my only point now on Kerala story is not the facts and the figures, not anything else, but the cause. You know, the numbers may be three or the numbers may be 32,000, but is this thing happening or it is not happening? Is the worry? It's a concern for all of us, and I think to voice an alarm. I mean, we all love our country, we all love our nation, and it is not primarily about that we are talking about any. I mean, it has been perceived like कि यार एक रिलीजन को आप हर बार नहीं, हम हर बार अटैक कोई भी नहीं करता एक रिलीजन को. There have been Hindu bashings also. There have been, it has got nothing to do. Isn't the film about the Muslim girls also being trapped? Yes, of course, the Muslim girls are also being trapped, and I mean there are these stories which are facts and which are laid out there about the Muslim girls who are still trapped in Afghanistan. They wanted a Sharia law in India, so they went to
Hmm.
ISIS. Now they're running. It is about the daughters of India. You know, conversion ho ya na ho. Acha, you see what happens, Sriya, is truth. Whenever it reaches, my truth can be embarrassing to you, or your truth, your opinion of a fact can be too embarrassing for me. So that embarrassment, which we cannot take, we
Hmm.
term it as, oh, it may cause disharmony, or this is propaganda. or this is, we blanket that, we hide that truth. It has been,
Right.
I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think freedom of speech can be a Mughal Azam. I mean, you make a
Hmm.
film about a very insignificant emperor and you highlight a love story, and we are okay with it.
Right.
The
Hmm.
filmmaker also, yeah, because history comes in layers. History is not something what you say and what you would want to read. The
It's not a
worst
story
thing
of the
that has,
victors. It
yeah,
unfortunately it usually is, but it's not the whole truth.
yeah, and the worst thing, I'll tell you, Surya, the worst thing that has happened to mankind or to any religion or to any caste or to any section of a society is the
Right.
digital information, is the
Right.
internet.
Right.
I may say my holy book doesn't say this, but you just put it on my face, and here are the tenets. That is a
Right.
big embarrassment to me, and that I cannot face,
Hmm.
because I have been, before I was born in my mother's womb, even my body took shape. My religion was injected inside me. My
Right.
DNA was injected inside me, and I'm not ready to take that. But
Right.
the worst thing, I'm saying it again, the worst thing that has happened to mankind is, or any religion, is the digital internet information. I mean,
Right.
Kerala story, you deny Kerala story. I mean, we've seen a lot of people denying the Kashmir files also. I mean,
Hmm.
there are people saying it
Absolutely.
never happened.
Right. Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know so there are and I am completely okay with opinions of rejecting a certain truth.
Hmm.
You may call it a fiction, you know
Right.
I mean, but everybody, on Kerala story particularly, I stand on, forget the numbers. Is it happening to our daughters or not? I'm not even
Right.
talking conversion. I'm not even talking conversion. ISIS is a big threat, is a big threat
Hmm.
to our
Hmm.
country.
Right.
So that's an alarm.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you bring forward a few very crucial points when you say that, and with the point that you ended with, which is ISIS is definitely a threat to the country. So when investigations have happened in Kerala, the police and even the NIA have said that we don't have any specific numbers per se, because it's impossible. Like, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to trace these people out once they have gotten converted, once they, and in fact, for that matter, the police has even said this, that their focus isn't on conversion, because conversion doesn't just restrict itself to the Muslim community. It happens in Hinduism, it happens in Christianity, it happens in Islam as well. And eventually they probably killed, or they end up joining as an active member of the ISIS. But all of this said and done, there are facts which have been exaggerated to some point for sure. Like I said, even the critics have said the acting in itself, like the way the facts have been represented itself, there have been exaggerations. Now, why I'm focusing on the exaggerations again and again is Mr. Shudipto Sen and both Vipul Shah, the duo have constantly gone out and about saying that this is absolutely based on true stories, and not just true stories. They have said that this movie is based on RTI reports. As a director, you yourself, as a director, don't you think that this actually puts the film fraternity in a false position? Because if somebody is going on saying that no, this is based on true events, true events, true events, but at the end of the day, it sort of leans towards the fact that yes, there has been a misrepresentation of facts, then doesn't that speak? I mean, it doesn't speak too highly of the people who have made the film. There is certain sense of civic responsibility, for that matter, that lies here.
I mean, I personally really do not know the numbers, the exact numbers. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
it's
mean,
certainly,
irrespective
yeah.
of the numbers, irrespective of the numbers. Hmm.
No, no, but a point that you're talking about,
Hmm.
uh, if the numbers is three and they have spelled out 32,000,
Exactly.
it's a huge,
Huge gap. Exactly.
yeah,
Hmm.
a misinterpretation that you're talking about.
Hmm.
But I think the director and the producer
Hmm.
have uh, said the numbers are right. They have been saying the numbers are right. I don't know how true this is. you know. And if the numbers are wrong, and if the fight is only on the numbers, Shreya, uh, I think the courts could have held the film. But yes, like you say, a civic responsibility of a director is always there. Is always there. A civic. और मैं देखो आपको एक बात बताता हूँ, सिविक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी जो आती है, हम जिस बिल्डिंग में रहते हैं, अपने अपार्टमेंट्स में रहते हैं, द सिविक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज डू नॉट कम एज रिटन. You grow up with those civic responsibilities, you know. ये सिखाया नहीं जाता कि 1 से लेके 10 तक ये याद कर लो, ये civic responsibilities है. Civic, to say hello to somebody, or to not hurt or not to abuse somebody, are civic responsibilities. Similarly, as a filmmaker, as you grow, I think freedom of speech or freedom of expression, uh, there is an imaginary line. There are no lines drawn. I mean, if we could say, where does the line gets drawn? No, you have to come up with those lines, and you must know. आप घर पे जब खाना बनाते हैं या आपकी माँ खाना बनाती है, उन्हें नहीं बताया जाता कितना नमक डालना है, कितनी मिर्च डालनी है. दे नो इट, इससे ज्यादा डालेंगे तो बुरा हो जाएगा, you know.
Right.
So these are very involuntary, inbuilt things that come up to you. So as a filmmaker, it's a huge duty, I mean, to stop where you feel it should be stopped, you know.
Right.
हम गाड़ी भी चलाते हैं तो वी नो कि इससे ज्यादा स्पीड में नहीं जाना चाहिए, यू नो. टायर्स कैन स्किड. सो आई थिंक दिस, I mean, freedom of speech, Sriya, comes with a huge responsibility, you know. And but
and I know you're talking about the creative freedom that filmmakers do have.
yes, I
All
mean,
artists do have for that.
nobody stops you from creative freedom, but see to it
Absolutely.
that I do not abuse your mother. I do not abuse the motherland we love more than our mother. You see,
Right.
for me, I don't know about people, but I love my motherland more than my
Right.
mother. आपको भी बरतना पड़ेगा freedom of expression, उसको भी सबको. We all are in a society, we all are in a community, and the term that we used is a community living. We
Hmm.
are into a community living. It's not about वो लोग और हम लोग. I mean, we've done the वो लोग और हम लोग, even, and it has reached cinema also, which should not be. We should take care of civic responsibilities, certainly. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, I'm glad you spoke about the motherland and brought in that angle, because there was just one thing that was going on in my head when you were saying this, and that is freedom of speech is something we absolutely stand for, which is true. And moreover, creative freedom is also another thing which we definitely circle in when we are talking about not just movies like this, but any form of artistic creation for that matter, I feel, right? But the point that remains is, I mean, freedom of speech is fine as long as it's not hurting the sentiments of another individual. Think about all the Muslim girls now in college who will be staying in the college hostel and the light they will be seen in. And unfortunately, even though this has been called Kerala story, which again is a question I will ask you later, but this will not just restrain itself to Kerala. It will happen. It is going to happen throughout the world for that matter. Think about the light they are going to be seen in. This is, in fact, for that matter, this is something which happened to Muslims after 9/11 as well. The way their entire imagery for the world has changed. The only reason this is being spoken about again and again is that
No, but
where
tell me
does it,
one
like,
thing.
if these facts are misrepresented.
I'm just interrupting you.
Hmm.
What has happened post 9/11? Has the extremism been mellowed down?
It's not gone down at all. That's the thing. It's
Then,
not gone
then,
down at all. Hmm.
where has it
But
gone
there
down?
have been cases where there have been victims who have been wronged because of a certain image getting set up, right?
No. That way, Sriya, you can talk about the victims of extremism also.
Right, absolutely. I'm just saying that if you're making a movie, of these things, of this particular topic, what all are the factors that are you taking in these factors when you're making a movie of this sort? Because then there are questions of Islamophobia that comes in. This is where the question of Islamophobia comes in, because when we talk about conversion, there have been so many cases, and for that matter, Kerala used to have a pre-COVID, Kerala used to have these groups called de-radicalization groups. They used to, whoever these groups of people who the NIA or the police could trace have gotten radicalized, have gotten are leaning towards the extremist side. They used to get rounded up and they used to de-radicalize these people. But when we're talking about this concept of ghar wapasi that we call, like converting them back to their previous religion, I mean, that conversion lies there as well. As a director, when I question you about these things, what would you say? Like, how would you view if today you were to make a film of this sort? Would you not have factored these in, like the consequences, the ripple effect it would have had on a certain community of people?
No, now if you ask me personally, one, I would want to clear this. My entire conversation with you is in no defense of Vipul Shah or Sudipto
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the Kerala story, because I haven't seen the film. I just know the crux of the film. And I, as an Indian, as somebody on this earth, would want to save the daughters. I mean, you don't like that. So I personally, and मैं अगर आपसे पूछूं श्रेया कि चलिए एक बात मैं हम लोग एक काम करते हैं कि अगर 32,000 ना होते, तीन तीन लड़कियां होती, would the Muslims have thronged to the theaters? I'm simply asking you, would the Muslims of
Absolutely.
India
But
would have
मेरा
thronged
मेरा
and
भी question
said,
वही है ना sir, कि then if they would have gone ahead with saying teen itself from the very beginning, these
हाँ,
controversies wouldn't have arisen, and for that matter,
तो
the people might have taken this more seriously then. Do you get where I'm getting at?
I mean, tomorrow, I'm just saying कि tomorrow, if somebody wants to make a film on सर तन से जुदा, हमने अभी देखा, I mean,
Hmm.
again you will cry Islamophobia because वो हुआ तो है ना, ऐसा तो
हुआ
नहीं
है,
है कि नहीं हुआ.
absolutely,
तो
absolutely. No
मेरा
denying that.
मेरा अच्छा, now listen, I mean the human hatred and human, let us, I don't want to go back. When did the persecutions of start? I mean, the Christians and Islam, everybody in the world knows that. I mean, if you go back, so let's not get there कि कहाँ से
Right.
galvanizing शुरू हुई और किसने की. I mean, you can't, I don't want to be a spokesperson of Hinduism कि हमने तो किसी को नहीं किया इतने सारे. No, forget it. I mean, human hatred goes to Ku Klux Klan also. So this has been there. I mean, this, बट माई ओनली पॉइंट इज कि ठीक है, मैं समझ के चलता हूँ कि यार ये नहीं होना चाहिए, ये नहीं होना चाहिए. बट if the figures were three, would the Muslims have really applauded Vipul Shah to make this film? Because this is something that we are going to leave for our children. और हम क्या
Absolutely.
छोड़ के जा रहे हैं वो मुझे बहुत तकलीफ होती है.
वो
तो
exactly.
हाँ,
Exactly.
तो वो जो है वो I wouldn't have. And I'm personally, if you ask me, I'm a kind of a man who would made a musical, an entertainer. That's the kind of cinema or that's the kind of contribution that I would have made to cinema. I mean, अच्छा, आपको एक इंटरेस्टिंग बात बताता हूँ. ऐसा नहीं है
बिल्कुल.
कि फिल्म मेकर्स ने सोशली इशू बेस्ड फिल्म्स नहीं बनाई है. आई मीन,
Absolutely.
the greatest of the filmmakers, from Raj Kapoor to Bimal Roy to Guru Dutt to Manoj Kumar, they never made a film which did not have a social issue or a message, for that matter. That's why they are big.
For
I mean,
sure.
even in today's times, the directors like Rajkumar Hirani, Zoya, Rajkumar Hirani, except Sanju, they pick up subjects which are so relevant socially. I mean,
Absolutely.
look at Rajkumar Hirani's, where he talks to Gandhi. He made two films, and his film Three Idiots on education. And Zoya has always made very socially aware and socially, watcher.
Very
So
true.
that makes you a greater director. But again, portraying those social issues in such soulful weaving
Exactly.
is something. But
Exactly.
sir,
Right.
I do not deny that Kashmir Files and Kerala Story, they hit you and they slap you to face the truth. The moment the film is doing 200 crores and Kashmir File did 350 crores is in itself a mark of people accepting the cinema.
But don't you think that a lot of people actually ended up, if this movie, for that matter, would not have caused so much controversy, maybe people would not have watched this in such
No,
large numbers?
No. This is a huge myth, Priya, कि फिल्म की
हम्म,
नेगेटिव पब्लिसिटी करो, चलती है, नहीं चलती है। और
नहीं
आपको मैं
चलती।
एक बात हाँ, मैं
हम्म,
आपको एक बात बता देता हूँ। ओ, ये तो बीजेपी का। अच्छा, ये बोल के आप एक चीज तो स्टैम्प करके एंडोर्स कर रहे हैं कि जितनी भी देशभक्ति की और ये वाली फिल्में बनेंगी वो बीजेपी की। आप तो ये
बीजेपी के
स्टैम्प
हैं।
ये आप लोग कर रहे हो, यू नो।
हाँ।
आई मीन योगी आदित्यनाथ backed Ram Setu, it didn't work.
हम्म।
I mean, Maharana Pratap didn't work. I mean, it's a huge
And
myth
movies
कि
don't have anything to do with politics is something we need to start
Sriya,
accepting again.
Sriya, cinema is far, far and far
Far
away
away.
from politics.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, you will be amused the amount of Muslim fans that Akshay Kumar has, the amount of Hindu fans that Shah Rukh Khan has. I
हम्म।
mean, पठान देखने जाते हैं तो ये थोड़ी होता कि तुम मुसलमान हो, मैं हिंदू हूँ। Point is कि politicians are using cinema to their own benefits. I mean, cinema has got nothing to do. Matlab,
Right.
this is a story that a filmmaker wanted to say, and not that this is Kerala story is the first story. I mean,
Absolutely not. Absolutely
people
not.
there also have made Temptations of Jesus Christ and Da Vinci Code and Schindler's List and Munich. Not that
Right.
Munich and Schindler's List were not made; they were made there.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's
I
it's
mean,
about.
hmm.
Hmm,
नहीं नहीं, आप बोलिए।
please go on. Tell me. No, matlab, as a
I
filmmaker, I
was.
would have made a brighter film as my
Yes,
contribution.
I think we definitely, I think we can definitely get behind that idea and like look forward to one on the brighter side. I mean, if you want to announce it on this podcast, go ahead, do that. I'll be more than happily waiting for it.
We must come up with cinema which promotes being together. You know,
Right. Hmm.
that's very important. But certainly, yes. Uh, mm, अगर आपको दुश्मन दिखाई दे रहा है, ISI, I mean, before Kerala story, I had been very much into what has happened to the Yazidi girls. I mean, what has
Hmm.
happened to,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
I mean, the mass graves and
Hmm.
so you get scared कि हमारे
Absolutely.
हमारे देश में ना हो, ये हमारे देश में ना
Absolutely.
हो।
Hmm.
हाँ,
Hmm.
so forgetting the numbers, the film certainly raises an alarm. And when you say the people in Kerala say it never happened, no. In
Hmm.
2020, the bishop had cautioned the chief minister then.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
for sure. Hmm.
the archbishop and the Christians associations had cautioned the chief minister that this is what is happening.
Happening. Hmm.
I
Absolutely.
mean the tigers fell prey to another tigers. That was they were now
Right.
crying. Yeah, I
Right.
mean कि केरला में नहीं होना चाहिए, बाकी पूरे हिंदुस्तान में हम कर लेंगे.
वही दिक्कत है. I think that is the bigger problem. Calling this
हाँ
movie
हाँ
Kerala story. Exactly. I think
हाँ.
that is the point we've been like discussing, conversing about, and I think at the end of the day, I don't know if you'll agree outright with it, but the movie's intentions were not wrong. It's just certain portrayals, probably, or certain ways that went about with the topic. It overshadowed the whole intention of the movie. And for that matter, so in fact, would you agree with the fact that if Kerala story was not like itna bada disclaimer mein, agar if they wouldn't have said that this is based on true facts, if it would just have been a social commentary on what is happening, do you think it would have been more impactful?
I don't know personally, Shreya, how when you make a cinema, you invest a lot of money. I mean, and there are ways to project it. There are
Hmm.
ways to, safeguard your revenues. I mean,
Right.
this happens in the news channels also. Everywhere also,
Hmm.
faces are important. The marketing and the revenues and those. So
Right.
I don't know what was the modus operandi of the filmmakers. But for me, again, I say uh, more than the numbers, the cause was more important. And it was like there is a line which we always use: we saw it coming. We saw it coming. We often use. So this is, we saw it coming and we were waiting for it कि somebody should, है ना, कब तक आप इलेक्शंस के और पॉलिटिकल उसमें ब्लैंकेट से दबाते रहेंगे.
हाँ.
तो एक फिल्म मेकर ने वो उठा दिया.
Hmm.
अगर कश्मीर फाइल्स 30 साल के सबसे पहली बात तो मुझे शर्म आती है कि मुझे इतने साल मेरे देश में ऐसा
आपको नहीं
हुआ
पता था।
कश्मीर में, और हमने कुछ नहीं किया, हमने कुछ आज तक कुछ नहीं किया। If now that is not taken as Hindu phobia. I
Right.
mean, tomorrow if I want to make Mopla rights or Tipu Sultan, you show me one side. History comes in layers. What is the other side of Tipu Sultan?
What is the other
That's
side?
what I'm
Right.
saying. What is the
Hmm.
other side? I
Hmm.
mean, tomorrow if I want to do a film on Shah Jahan, why didn't I want to make Jahan Ara? Jahan Ara, you showed me one side. I mean, my question
But
is,
sir,
why did
now that you're actually mentioning that, if you were to make a movie of this sort, and like you said, कि Hindu phobia का तो कोई बात नहीं करता, but would you, like, you as a director, would you think about the fact that yes, if I'm like if I am making this movie, if these are the imageries I'm using to make this movie, there might be a place where I might be not leaning towards, but I might be wrongly accused also for that matter of spreading Hindu phobia. Would you factor that in? And do you think
no?
it's important to factor that in?
But today, Shriya, even
Hmm.
if I'm telling you the phase that we are going through, the phase in our country that we are going through,
Hmm.
if you lean anywhere, you are branded. You
Hmm.
know, if you want to say a certain kind of a truth,
Hmm.
there is a branding waiting for you.
Hmm.
You know, there
Right.
is a certain kind of a branding. They brand you कि अरे यार ये लेफ्ट का है, ये राइट का है, ये सेंटर का है, because you said. But like I said, कि this is the crux of the worst thing ever happened is the digital information. आप मुझसे झूठ कैसे बोल रहे हो?
Hmm.
आप झूठ बोल ही नहीं सकते. So I wouldn't have. I'm a
Hmm.
very soft man at heart. I would rather, like I said, कि मैं यमन सीरिया नहीं देख सकता. You know,
Hmm.
I can't.
Hmm. Right.
So I would be more softer in filmmaking.
But you still said that if you were to approach this movie, you would have made a soulful creation of it. And I think we're still gonna hold you on to that. But on that note, I think this was a lovely conversation we've had, quite insightful, and definitely a much needed perspective of an artist. Because yes, the film fraternity has been put in a spot when it comes to
And
political
I'll tell you,
propagandas.
Shreya,
Hmm.
my last closing lines.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Hmm.
Wherever, I mean, if you clip, I mean,
Hmm.
if you stop a writer, a
Hmm.
painter,
Hmm.
a musician, or a filmmaker,
Hmm.
often, like I said, freedom of speech, the civic sense has to be inbuilt in him or her, you know. But you can't paint weirdly. You can't, your paintings or a piece of work cannot assault me. But if a writer has fear and he's assaulted for something that he's done 32 years ago, Salman Rushdie,
Salman Rushdie. Hmm.
he didn't know 32 years later he would be assaulted. His
I
eyes
saw
would
it.
be
Hmm.
taken off. His eyes would be taken off. That, to live in those premises is a scary one, is very scary. So also a filmmaker in me resists and stays away from not getting assaulted 32 years later, you know.
Right.
But at the very same time, if this fear
Hmm.
stops your freedom of expression, if this
Hmm.
fear of getting assaulted stops your freedom of speech,
Hmm.
then you're clipping the wings of a bird.
Movies of like Kerala Story or Kashmir Files come up. Definitely, these are movies which are hard hitting, which are getting the fact out there that yes, this is happening. No matter how they are doing it, fine. We're putting that in the back seat right now. But what I'm talking about is the very release of such movies, or the very release of, maybe even if there is like a 5% of a misrepresentation of any sort of in these movies, do you think that fuels the already existing communal tensions that are there, the underlying communal tensions that are there in the society? Do you think it fuels it more?
But Shriya, even if it doesn't, we have agents of communal disharmony roaming on the streets on every
But
side,
yes,
right?
but is it okay to do like fuel that further? with such stories?
No, when you make a film like Mulk, which says, "Oh, देखो मुसलमान बेचारे किस हालत में रह रहे हैं," that doesn't fuel disharmony. I mean, the Hindus don't say कि ये तो wrong है. If you ask, I mean, again, we say it was the filmmaker's opinion about. I mean, this is how he sees Muslims. But if you ask me, I'm so proud of my three Khans. I'm so proud of the Muslim music directors that I have. I'm so proud of Muhammad Arif Khan. I wanted badly, not me, everybody wanted badly that he should be the next PM. I mean, there is this, and if you're talking about this, this is how I see. I'm so different from the maker of Mulk. I mean, out of 135 crores, only 11 players represent India in cricket. 2006 में 6 जने खेले थे Muslims. I can tell you the names of those players. And even now, today, I'm talking today, there are 5 Muslim players representing India. So that's how I see. That's how you see. But उस समय there was no Hindu phobia to that film. So we allowed. So it is again an opinion of a filmmaker. मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ कि देखो आप फिल्म बनाते हो कि माइग्रेंट्स वहां गए, उन बेचारों के साथ क्या हाल, पर असलियत तो ये है माइग्रेंट्स ने जाके वोट वापस उसको योगी को ही दिया, आपकी तो फिल्म वहीं रह गई, वो तो वापस ही नहीं आए, तो दे आर हैप्पी देयर. So like I said, the digital information is like the truth is right there.
Right,
So
right.
if you want to create a disharmony, like I said, the agents are out there. Even if you don't, they'll create out. And I'm saying it's not on one side; it's on either sides.
Either sides. Right, right. I think
Either
that's
side.
that's that's very insightful. That's very insightful, and it's an. I mean, how I see it, it's an unfortunate truth of the day.
हाँ, और
And
जैसे मैंने एक सवाल आपसे ये कहा कि अगर 32 की जगह 3 लड़कियां होती, would the Muslims have been happy about it?
happy about it.
Would they have thronged and said कि what a beautiful film they've made? No, they wouldn't have.
But it was lovely having you on the show, and very insightful points that you have made, and something you're definitely leaving a lot to think about for our audience here, and a lot from a directive's perspective, a lot from a citizen's perspective, especially when you made those points about civic responsibility and how they are looked at and how do common men go about with it. And well, on that note, thank you so much. This was Clarity Amidst Clutter's episode with your host, Sriya Kundu. Until the next time, see you. Bye bye. Thank you.